Tuesday, everybody. Hope you're having a good day today. Um, I'm I'm okay. It's Monday still for me. Remember, I record in advance for Tuesdays, so I'm still the same. My foot still hurts. In fact, it's gotten a lot worse. It's been hurting since I've been sitting here doing this. Um, so get this one done and out of the way. I'm gonna go ice my foot. It is actually feeling pretty sore. I can feel it throbbing. So I'm just gonna dive right into it and get done because it really hurts. Today's daily promise. When Christ, who is our life, shall appear, then shall ye also appear with him in glory. Colossians 3:4. Our Lord Jesus Christ, who is the Lamb of God and our bridegroom, shall return. Our true life is hidden in him, and when he appears in clouds of glory, then shall our own true lives be made apparent in him. His life of obedience is ours. His well, it wants you to reference these. So Romans 5 verse 19, for as by one man's disobedience many were made sinners, so by the obedience of one shall many be made righteous. And Hebrews 5:8, though he were a son, yet learned he obedience by the things which he suffered. His death and suffering is ours, so too is his resurrection to new life. And even so, his revelation in robes of splendor at the final day shall be shared with every one of his saints. So put to death the earthly things until his coming, and you shall be crowned in his glory. I like that. That's a good one. Okay, let's talk about the Delta variant that's going around. I just wanted to talk about it really quickly. Supposedly, the Delta variant, that they make a big deal out of nothing, but a lot of people don't even realize they have the Delta variant because it's like allergies. You get a stuffy nose, you sneeze, your throat might get scratchy, things like that. Maybe like you feel like you might have sinus pressure. That's about the extent of what people have been feeling that supposedly tested positive for this Delta variant. So it's really not that serious, at least from what I know, what I've heard. But this is from Fox News. Associated Press, I believe, is where some of this came from. Um, what should I know about the Delta variant? It's a version of the coronavirus that has been found in more than 80 countries since it was first detected in India. It got its name from the WHO, which names notable variants after letters of the Greek alphabet, because my goodness, you couldn't name it the Indian variant because, that's so racist and xenophobic, even though that variant originates in that area. Okay. Anyway, it's if you go look up at how they decided to start labeling these variants with the Greek alphabet, first of all, you need to learn the Greek alphabet. If you don't know the Greek alphabet, how are you going to know which one it is, right? So get studying, go learn the Greek alphabet. And I don't know how long that's going to take you because it doesn't look easy. Um, Viruses constantly mutate, and most changes aren't concerning. But there is a worry that some variants might evolve enough to be more contagious, cause more severe illness, or evade the protection that vaccines provide. Well, let me tell you, vaccines technically don't even provide protection because people who are fully vaccinated, like the Democrats that fled Texas, they're fully vaccinated, yet they still tested positive for COVID-19. So it doesn't even protect against that one. So, are we surprised that it wouldn't necessarily protect against another variant, kind of like the flu shots do? Experts say the Delta variant spreads more easily because of mutations that make it better at latching onto cells in our bodies. In the UK, the variant is now responsible for 90% of all new infections. In the US, it represents 20% of infections, and health officials say it could become the country's dominant type as well. It's not clear yet whether the variant makes people sicker since more data needs to be collected, said Dr. Jacob John, what a name, who studies viruses at the Christian Medical College at Vellore in southern India. Studies have shown that the available vaccines work against variants, including the Delta variant. Researchers in England studied how effective the two-dose AstraZeneca and Pfizer BioNTech vaccines were against it, compared with the Alpha variant that was first detected in the UK. The vaccines were protective for those who got both doses, but were less so among those who got one dose. It's why experts say it's important to be fully vaccinated and why it's they say and why they say making vaccines accessible globally is so critical. Now, so all that's going on. And then you come over here, um, because amid this Delta variant surge, now you have nonprofit canvassers going door to door. Wait for it. Wait for it. So this here was published 18 hours ago. So now the Delta variant accounts for roughly 83% of all new cases in America, supposedly. Um, but wait till you hear where they're going door to door. You might be surprised to find it's in your city. I sure was. Not my city. I was surprised to hear what city. Volunteer groups in a number of cities have started going door to door to promote COVID-19 vaccinations as the threat of the Delta variant grows more severe, according to reports. The Delta variant poses a significant danger to unvaccinated individuals. While 56.6% of all Americans have received at least one dose, efforts have slowed significantly. Recent polling indicated that 80% of unvaccinated individuals are unlikely or have no intention to get vaccinated, while those same individuals comprise 99% of new hospitalizations. Bull! Don't believe it. I don't believe that. Overall, the variant accounts for roughly 83% of all new cases in America. To try and close the gap and get more vaccines into arms, volunteers and city workers in places like Chicago and, wait for it, Dallas, Texas, have been going door to door to promote the vaccines. In Dallas, volunteers can direct unvaccinated individuals to pop up vaccination sites and offer incentives such as free tickets to Six Flags. Man, sign me up. Sign me up. Now, okay, you really talked me into it. I can go to Six Flags for free. If I had known that all along, I would have already done it. Please tell me you can hear the sarcasm. The Dallas Zoo or other similar amusements. So let's take an experimental drug to go to Six Flags when you could just buy a season pass. Season pass pays for itself in like less than 2 visits. Come on, people. And honestly, who wants to go to Six Flags? At my age, you can't ride roller coasters anymore. They make you sick and give you headaches. Boring. Okay, we've seen it go down to around 15,000 doses per week in Dallas County, said Dallas County Health Director Dr. Philip Hong. I'm hearing that we did see a little bit of bump most recently, but maybe also due to the increased recognition of how the Delta variant is circulating and the impact it's having on our hospital numbers. Hospitalizations in Texas have risen by 150% in the last 3 weeks, with South Dallas as an area of particular focus. One of the issue is return rate, which counts individuals who have been fully vaccinated. Around 14% of Dallas County residents, around 189,000 individuals, have not returned for their second shot. It's not too late to get that second dose, Dr. Hong said. Don't think I'm behind schedule to get it. I missed my appointment. Go ahead, go back and get that second dose. It's not too late. It's better to get it than to not. Chicago has also been sending people door to door to encourage individuals to get vaccinated, according to the Hyde Park Herald. In one sense, we are talking with people who are vaccinated, but then if we are giving them information, we can give them information, then we can spread it to their family. So we are putting information out that way, said Armani Nightingale, who works for Protect Chicago, adding that the city also holds events. Volunteers in Las Vegas with the nonprofit Mi Familia Vota have been pushing since June to increase vaccination numbers, focusing on the Latino community in particular. The East Side is a lot of Hispanics, and a lot of Hispanics don't normally believe in vaccines, in my experience. That was the thing with my family, volunteer Leticia Rios told Fox 5 Las Vegas. While she occasionally meets resistance, Rios said she largely has found residents to be receptive of her message. She said that by sharing why it is important for her to see others vaccinated, she has been able to change some minds. Or they just tell you you've changed their mind so you'll go away and leave them alone. I was a senior in high school and everything had to be shut down. I didn't have a graduation, she explained. I didn't have a prom. Everything got shut down and I got really scared because I was like, when is this going to end? The city has offered pop up vaccination events which offer free food to participants as well as school supplies for children. I'm sorry, none of your bribes are worth it. Not a single bribe. You could hand me $1 million check and tell me, we'll give you this $1 million check, and then we're going to give you uh, so much money every month on top of that. Just get yourself and your family vaccinated. And I'd rip the check up because it's not worth it. My life is priceless. It's not worth any amount of money or tickets to freaking Six Flags. Come on. And anybody who takes those bribes that's dumb enough to do that, I have no sympathy for you if you have some side effects of getting the vaccination. Because you've been warned. You have plenty of people telling you it's terrible. You have plenty of people who've gotten the vaccination, both doses, that are having very horrible adverse side effects from it and reactions to it. And they're trying to sound the alarm on it. And you're dumb enough to do it because you get free stuff. That's your own problem and it's your own fault. And I have no sympathy for you. Only your children if you force your children into doing it because they don't have a choice. Wake up, people. It's not worth it. Okay, so I really want to get to some Tucker Carlson information, but this next story I'm going to cover it quickly because it is directly tied to the COVID stuff. Okay, now this is a Texas Representative Chip Roy, and apparently Democrats want to target text messages for COVID-19 misinformation, which, by the way, I hopefully don't need to remind you that that is illegal, just so you know. Okay. So on Monday, he blasted Democrats. Sorry, this is from Daily Wire, written by John Brown, who want to police private text messages following a report that Biden allies want to target SMS carriers in their quest to dispel misinformation about the COVID-19 vaccine. Roy appeared on Tucker Carlson tonight in part to address a Monday report from Politico that claimed the Biden administration is casting conservative opponents of its COVID-19 vaccine campaign as dangerous and extreme, and plans to work with SMS carriers to suppress anti-vaccine sentiment even in private text. As Carlson said per Fox News, on Monday, Politico reported plans from the Biden admin to battle misinformation in regards to the COVID-19 vaccine. The White House has decided to hit back harder on misinformation and scare tactics after Republican lawmakers and conservative activists pledged to fight the administration's stated plans to go door to door to increase vaccination rates. Politico wrote, the pushback will include directly calling out social media platforms and conservative news shows that promote such tactics. The article continues how pro-Biden groups and the Democratic National Committee will work with SMS carriers to dispel misinformation in people's private text messages. Biden allied groups, including the Democratic National Committee, are also planning to engage fact-checkers more aggressively and work with SMS carriers to dispel misinformation about vaccines that is sent over social media and text messages. This whole issue of the vaccine hits very close to home for me, Roy told Carlson. My father, in 1949, when he was 7 years old, he was diagnosed with polio, and my grandmother was nursing my grandfather, who was sick with cancer. He died that fall, and then raised my dad as a single mom, nursed him to health, and he lived his whole life ravaged by polio. I'm grateful to have a vaccine for me, vaccines for my sons and my daughter, Roy told Fox News. I believe in vaccines, and I'll be damned if I'm going to allow Democrats come in and start calling you an anti-vax quack or call me anti-vaxxer because I dare to believe that it's our duty as Americans, our patriotic duty, to make decisions for ourselves, not have Democrats looking at our text messages, not having them try to shame the American people into taking a vaccine. Roy also called the alleged DNC text claims patently absurd. After the Politico report was published, Lucas Acosta, a spokesperson for the DNC, told the Associated Press that DNC does not have the ability to access or read the text of other private people. More from the Associated Press. We know they don't technically have the ability to do that, but that doesn't mean they can't be given it. So Acosta explained to the Associated Press that the DNC isn't infiltrating personal text, nor is it working with mobile phone carriers like Verizon or T-Mobile to dispel misinformation. Instead, Acosta said the DNC is simply notifying SMS aggregator companies like Twilio and Bandwidth when it believes a political mass text is fraudulent or violates the company's messaging policies. Now, if anybody knows what Twilio and Bandwidth is, I have no idea, and I didn't bother to even look it up. But to my knowledge, I didn't think that you could impose like policy standards on text between private people. I didn't think you had that right. People pay for a service. They can say whatever they want through their text messages, as long as it's not obviously criminal. I get that. So it still seems a bit illegal, if you ask me. When the DNC's counter disinformation program receives complaints or reports of fraudulent broadcasts (SMS) that we believe violate the text aggregator's terms of service, we notify the broadcast text platform to help combat this troubling trend, Acosta said. The only texts reviewed are those distributed en masse to American citizens through broadcast text platforms and reported to the DNC. Yeah, it still seems a bit sus, if you ask me. Okay, it may be generated broadly to a bunch of different people. That's fine, and it's not private to private, like one person to one person or one person to a couple people. But I still feel like that's illegal. Okay. Roy spoke out last week against the Biden admin for aggressively pushing COVID-19 vaccines, prompting White House official to reportedly scoff at his concerns, as the Daily Wire reported. A White House official reportedly dismissed concerns Chip Roy made this week regarding the Biden admin's recent move to go door to door pushing the COVID-19 vaccine. I'm just sick and god darn tired of the left and this government dictating to me, frankly, anything at all, Roy told Real Clear Politics White House reporter Philip Wegman in an interview. Back the F off, that's my message to the White House. When Wegman reached out to a White House official to ask if they had a response to Roy, the official texted, "Lol, no." This article has been updated to include comment from the DNC. Okay. So this is what's going on right now in concerns to COVID. And like I said, we talked about Pegasus last week. Be careful, because I don't believe that they're not targeting text messages. I don't believe anything that the DNC says or any Democrat says, frankly, nor do I hardly believe much of any Republican says either. However, I definitely don't believe Democrats, so I'd be watching out for that. Um, Real quick, before we get to Tucker Carlson, well, no, let's do Tucker Carlson real quick because it's tied in with Fox News. So, I don't know which one to do first. Okay, we'll start with this one. So, as you know, Tucker Carlson mentioned before that he was being not targeted, spied on by the NSA, right? So the NSA actually unmasked Tucker Carlson, and this is from the Daily Wire. It's Fox News responding to this. So, the Biden admin allegedly unmasked Fox News host Tucker Carlson's identity, according to a new report published late on Friday, which prompted a strong response from the network. We told you that the National Security Agency has been monitoring the show and the content of Tucker's emails, Fox News fill in host Mark Stein said during Carlson's show. According to a media outlet called The Record, the NSA has just completed its internal review of the matter. The NSA now admits that it unmasked Tucker's identity after an intelligence intercept. By law, the identities of American citizens are concealed when they're caught up during foreign intelligence gatherings, Stein said. They can only be unmasked in extraordinary circumstances. So I'm not going to read this part of the report from The Record because it's going to repeat itself down here in a second. So, Fox News responded to the report by saying in a statement, for the NSA to unmask Tucker Carlson or any journalist attempting to secure a newsworthy interview is entirely unacceptable and raises serious questions about their activities as well as their original denial, which was wildly misleading. Let's see what this says.
This is a Fox News alert. We told you that the National Security Agency has been monitoring this show and the content of Tucker's emails. According to a media outlet called The Record, the NSA has just completed its internal review of the matter. The NSA now admits that it unmasked Tucker's identity after an intelligence intercept. By law, the identities of American citizens are concealed when they're caught up during foreign intelligence gathering. They can only be unmasked in extraordinary circumstances. Fox News has just released this statement, quote, for the NSA to unmask Tucker Carlson or any journalist attempting to secure a newsworthy interview is entirely unacceptable and raises serious questions about their activities, as well as their original denial, which was wildly misleading. We're always glad to see Harmeet Dillon when it comes to.
Okay, so we have um we have a partial transcript of that clip. But Tucker Carlson does admit that, or does say that the tyrants at Facebook did confirm that they have been censoring his show. So Mark Stein, that was the host at that time, said, "We told you that the NSA has been monitoring the show and the content of Tucker's emails. According to a media outlet called The Record, the NSA has just completed its internal review of the matter. The NSA now admits that it unmasked Tucker's identity after an intelligence intercept. By law, the identities of American citizens are concealed when they're caught up during foreign intelligence gathering. They can only be unmasked in extraordinary circumstances. Fox News has just released this statement, which is the one that I just read earlier. Um, we're always glad to see Harmeet Dillon. So she's going to talk about um, the NSA's revision of its original story. So she says, I'm not buying it. I think that what they're saying now is inconsistent with what they've said before, and it's also inconsistent with the facts as Tucker has revealed them. For example, Tucker said on his show on several nights that a source within the government came to him and read out several of Tucker's text messages. And so what the government is allegedly saying today is that the unmasking occurred regarding third parties talking with one another about Tucker Carlson. Okay, so that's inconsistent with them intercepting Tucker Carlson. Number two, there's only a handful of people in the United States government who have the ability and the right to unmask people, and that right was widely abused during the end of the Obama administration in 2016, and I'm afraid it's being abused right now. And so this raises more questions than it answers. And I think that we really need to be looking at reining in the abuses in the national security community of these types of issues. And no American journalist should be surveilled this way. And finally, these types of communications must never be leaked to the media. Axios had these communications, so they haven't answered that. How did that happen? Right. So, speaking of Axios having these communications, Tucker Carlson says that the NSA leaked his emails to the press. That is how Axios got a hold of him. So this article was written by John Brown, and it says that Carlson claimed on Wednesday that he learned that the NSA has not only allegedly spied on his private correspondence, but also leaked it to reporters in an attempt to undermine him. Carlson alleged last week that he received information from a source inside the NSA that could only have been obtained by someone reading his text messages and emails. Maria Bartiromo said Tucker on NSA spying allegations, "This is a huge problem for the country." Speaking with Fox News host Maria Bartiromo on Mornings with Maria, Carlson said, "Yesterday I learned that, and this is going to come out soon, that NSA leaked the contents of my email to journalists in an effort to discredit me. I know because I got a call from one saying, 'Oh, this is what your emails was about.' So it is not in any way a figment of my imagination," Carlson continued. "It's confirmed. It's true. They are not only allowed to spy on American citizens, they are, I think more ominously, they are using information they gather to put leverage and to threaten opposition journalists, people who criticize the Biden administration. It's happening to me right now, and I think it's shocking, and I don't think we should put up with it in a free country." "It's worse than shocking," Bartiramos responded. "It's the stuff of banana republics and third world countries. Tucker, there is no other one who saw these emails, and this whistleblower relayed to you exactly what was in your communication. There is no way anybody else could have seen those emails. There was one other person who knew I sent that email, and it was my executive producer, Justin Wells," Carlson answered. "That's it. And I didn't mention it to anybody else, including my wife. There's no possibility that anyone else could have known. Then again, yesterday, I got the call before air, like 7:15, from a journalist I know, and like, not many left, but I do like this person. He repeated it back to me. He got it because the NSA leaked it. So yes, it's entirely real." Carlson later went on to note how few journalists have defended him against the NSA, acknowledging he is out of step with most Beltway journalists, whom he described as defenders of the Biden admin, who see themselves as Democratic Party operatives. Carlson was still perplexed that they seemingly did not find his allegations alarming. This is a massive threat not simply to me and my show, but to journalism itself, to the ideas of a free press. You can't have a free press if the intel agencies are secretly spying on you and then using that information to threaten you and to control you. This is a huge problem for the country, Carlson continued, and yet outside of Glenn Greenwald, I don't think there was anybody who stood up and said, wait, this is a huge problem for all of us. Instead, they made excuses for the NSA. We agree with you, Bartiramo said. This is wrong. It must be stopped, and the politicizing of all these government agencies is out of control, from the NSA, the Department of Defense, to the IRS. The NSA issued a carefully worded statement in response to Carlson's allegations last week, which they described as infuriatingly dishonest. On June 28, 2021, Tucker Carlson alleged that the NSA has been monitoring our electronic communications and is planning to leak them in an attempt to take the show off the air. The agency said, this allegation is untrue. Tucker Carlson has never been an intelligence target of the agency, and the NSA has never had any plans to try to take his program off the air. NSA has a foreign intelligence mission. We target foreign powers to generate insights on foreign activities that could harm the United States. With limited exceptions, NSA may not target a U.S. citizen without a court order that explicitly authorizes the targeting. Okay, so maybe they had a court order. I don't know, but what I can tell you is seriously what is going on with Tucker Carlson, and I'll tell you why they are attacking Tucker Carlson now, because Trump is no longer in the picture. Yeah, he's still doing his rallies and things like that, but since he's banned from Facebook for 2 years, he's been suspended on Twitter. He's not doing a whole lot in the media realm of things. He's just doing his rallies and sending out those statements every once in a while. They don't have Trump to focus on, so they find the next best thing, which would be Tucker Carlson. He is the biggest one that is probably a threat to the left right now, I would say, as far as in the mainstream media and going against their narrative and trying to reveal the truth to everybody. So that's why they focus on Tucker Carlson. If Trump was still in the picture a lot, they'd still be doing it to Trump, and Tucker probably wouldn't be in the issues that he's in now, dealing with these issues. um, but I completely support and back Tucker. I don't think he's a liar. I don't think he's making anything up. um, it seems very odd that the press ended up with something that was so secretive. I don't know what the story was about, but whatever it was, he felt it was completely necessary to keep it on the hush hush with only one or two people knowing about it besides himself, because it must have been something serious. Not to even tell your wife, that means that was a pretty serious story that you just didn't want anybody knowing that you were covering, because you wanted to get it out there without somebody trying to get ahead of you and change the narrative before you could talk about it. That's what I think he was trying to do, and that's why he was being so quiet about it. Anyway, the last thing I wanted to talk about is something that's going on in Canada. And the reason why I bring in Canada, I know Canada's a different country. I get it. It's not really our problem. But in the long run, it technically is, because what's happening in Canada most definitely can happen here. And I don't think it's too far from happening here, because we already have violent rioters going around and burning down cities and destroying businesses and killing police officers and getting away with it. And we already have these shutdowns that wanted to shut down churches and synagogues and tell people you can't go worship, but you can go to the weed dispensary over here or the alcohol store here. That was fine. So I don't see how this couldn't happen. I mean, I see how this could happen here in the US, and I guarantee you it's not far behind where Canada is at right now. I can guarantee it. So let's talk about what's happening in Canada. This is from the Daily Wire by John Brown. So, church arsonists plunging Canada toward Kristallnacht levels of evil, journalist warns. Okay, I hope I pronounced that right. I looked up the pronunciation of that. I did. Um, and I couldn't say it like the guy. I really couldn't. It was so hard. Um, but I'll let y'all hear it so y'all can hear how it was pronounced. It was really weird.
Kristallnacht.
Kristallnacht. Okay, so Kristallnacht. I'm not German or anything like that, so I don't know. Anyway, um, I'll tell you what that was. So, Kristallnacht on November 9th and 10th of 1938, Nazi leaders unleashed a series of pogroms against the Jewish population in Germany and recently incorporated territories. This event came to be called Kristallnacht, the Night of Broken Glass, because of the shattered glass that littered the streets after the vandalism and destruction of Jewish-owned businesses, synagogues, and homes. Okay? Um, so that's why they're comparing it to this. Okay. Now, Rebel News journalist Ezra Levant warned that the ongoing church arsons in Canada threatened to move the country toward the sort of systemic persecution that afflicted Jewish people in pre war Germany. Levant spoke to Fox News host Tucker Carlson on Wednesday, who observed that Canada increasingly resembles a communist country. I'm reluctant to use the word Kristallnacht because we're not there yet, Levant said. That was the night of broken glass in pre Holocaust Germany, where they smashed and burned and killed Jewish synagogues, and it was a precursor to the Holocaust. Obviously, we are not that far gone yet, but what do you call it when literally dozens of churches are being systemically vandalized, torched? Several churches have been burned and some completely destroyed in Canada since hundreds of unmarked Indigenous graves have been discovered at the sites of residential schools in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and British Columbia. Often run by churches, the residential school program was a government funded program in the late 19th and early 20th centuries that forced Indigenous children into boarding schools to assimilate them to Canadian culture. Canadian churches and politicians have since apologized for the program, but it wasn't their program. I mean, they weren't there when it happened. Oh, come on, people. This is the problem. Apologizing for something you didn't do. Stop it. Levant went on to blast Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau for his apparent reluctance to condemn what Levant described as an explicitly anti church hate crime wave. Justin Trudeau, who is normally the first in the wokest, waited a week before saying anything, and he literally said, "That's not the way to go." That was as tough as he got, Levant said. He noted Trudeau seems more concerned about criminalizing mean tweets than he does addressing the desecration of churches, which have mostly been Roman Catholic and Anglican, but have also spread to include a Protestant congregation of Vietnamese refugees. I think these are dark days for religious freedom in Canada, Levant added.
Well, it's not getting a lot of attention this
Oh, I thought it was going to be like a video of something
country because we
happening.
don't give Canada any attention at all.
Oh. Okay, so we can see here all all the damage that's being done. I'm not going to play the video because last time I played a video, even though it's fair use, I got copyright claimed. So, I just want to see if I could find videos of what was going on. So this church, this is a church that's on fire. I don't know why they set that one on fire, but it's a big fire. Um, so this is a different one. Justin Trudeau doesn't care. He's such a wuss. Okay, I guess that's it. Alright, I just wanted to see if there was any video of damage. Levant's warning echoed that of Jean Allen Riley, an assistant Pentecostal minister who is indigenous. "This is not our native way," Allen Riley said, who is the daughter of a residential school survivor as well as a 60 scoop survivor herself. "We do not hate people. We do not spread hate. We love people. We do not destroy other people's places of religion. We're asking for people who are setting these fires to stop now." Admonishing the arsonists that their actions are not helping the indigenous community, Allen Riley said, "We can see this being much worse and worse, and what's going to happen is if this keeps up, whoever is doing this, you're going to wake up a very ugly evil spirit in this country, and it's going to be spread across this country, and it's going to destroy it." Um, Pundit Class tweeted out, "Violence begets violence, so we're asking people who are lighting churches on fire to stop. Whoever's doing this, you're going to wake up a very ugly evil spirit in this country." All right. So, in addition to the destruction of the churches, Christian pastors in several Canadian provinces have faced exorbitant fines and even imprisonment for continuing to meet for worship despite strict COVID 19 lockdowns. Alberta made international headlines for jailing several pastors, including Pastor Arthur Pulowski, who grew up in Poland under the jet boot of the Soviets. Pulowski, who potentially faces 4 years in prison for conducting church services in defiance of Alberta's Public Health Act, has repeatedly warned that the communist tactics against religion that he experienced behind the Iron Curtain as a young man have since moved to Canada. In June, Senator Josh Hawley, representative of Missouri, urged the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom to consider adding Canada to its watch list because of how the country has been treating Christians. So this is something that's very serious. I'm telling you, you need to watch out for it here, especially in your Democrat-run states, because that's where your freedom of religion is going to go first. It's not going to happen in red states before it happens in blue states, but it's something that we should be paying attention to. And I can see this happening very quickly here. And you think that the government won't try to take away your right to worship freely? Yes, they will. And the reason why is because they don't want you to worship God. The government wants to be your God. They want you to worship them. Um, there's a very I think you can find it on his YouTube channel or his Facebook. I'm not sure. You can look up Dr. Phil Kidd. I know I've mentioned him several times, and he has a sermon entitled "When Government Becomes God." Or becomes your God. It's one of those, when government becomes God or when government becomes your God, and he breaks it down to you exactly why the government wants you to worship them as your God and why they want to strip those rights away for freedom of religion and worship, and what happens when you allow that to take place. And it's a very good sermon. And if you look it up, I'll look it up myself to see if it's there, and I'll put it up on my Facebook. But if you do it before I get to it and you find that it's not on his YouTube channel or his Facebook, let me know, because I can download it from where I get these sermons from off his website, and I can put it up that way, or I can personally email it to you maybe, or anything like that if you want to listen to it. So I just need you to let me know. And the way you can do that is you can join my Facebook at Lauren Collins. I just got to say something. You can email me, gotta say something 21 at gmail.com. You can even reach out to me on my subreddit r/slash just gotta say something. Please go look me up on Spotify, Pandora, Anchor, Google Podcast, Stitcher, anywhere you like to listen to your podcast. Subscribe to the podcast, leave me a like or a review, things like that. Leave me a rating. And then if you're on YouTube, not TubeTube, if you're on YouTube, please leave me a comment and I'll get back to you. Um, Subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so you know when I upload videos, which I do Monday through Thursday anyway. And also like the video and share the video. And I would greatly appreciate that. It would mean a lot to me. And then please check out and subscribe to The Scott Ford Show. Isaac Hayes, the Cajun conservative, and his Christian podcast, Brothers Just Searching, the Armed Lutheran, and TV's Rob is Unwoke. And that's it for today. I hope to see you back on Wednesday. Have a good rest of your day, and God bless.